Hi there, I just thought I'd take a few minutes out of my time today to look at one of my favourite beat-em-up series, Virtua Fighter, and it hasn't always been as good as it is now, so let's go back to the beginning, shall we? The Sega Saturn one. The pads on the Sega Saturn were quite nice for this, not too bad, but it's the game that we're really interested in, so let's take a look at the original Virtua Fighter on the Sega Saturn, shall we? Is it as good now as I remember it? Well, let's have a quick play. Alright. I obviously have rose-tinted glasses. This thing's horrible. They move like they're underwater or on the moon. There seems to be no substance to them. The controls just don't seem to register when you press them. The game's atrocious, actually. But you think this looks bad? Try the 32X one for a comparison. Yeah, you remember that weird mushroom-shaped abomination, don't you? I've reviewed the game before, but by terms of comparison, let's take a quick look at it compared to the Saturn one. And I think we'll actually find that the 32X one plays better than the Saturn. Plus the fact it's a cartridge, so no loading times. Even the setup for the character select looks exactly the same, and the game, as you can probably tell, graphically it's slightly inferior, but the game plays faster, it's tighter, it's neater, the game moves at a higher rate. It's just better all round than the Sega Saturn one. Sega released another version of Virtua Fighter 1 a bit later on, which is literally the same as the original game, sped up slightly with texture mapping, but to be honest with you, the 32X game still plays better. Who would believe that, eh? But don't worry, the Sega Saturn still had life left in it. And this is shown by Virtua Fighter 2. Look how many more modes it's got on it for a start. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Even the character select screen looks classy now, doesn't it? Cage and Pi were always my favourite characters, so I concentrated primarily on them. So I know their moves. Haha, I'm not too smug, am I? Yes, I've just died. That's absolutely marvellous. Thanks a lot! Anyway, the game, as you can tell, looks like it's off a different console, doesn't it, from the previous one? There's just no comparison. The game's tight, the controls are responsive, the moves work when you press the buttons. Yes, now this is what you want. It's pretty good representation of the arcade. It's a great port. Love this game. Played this game to death, man. It's brilliant. Now, a lot of you are sitting there thinking, well, you can't get good at Virtua Fighter, it's just luck that you win. Well, people that say that are the people that always lose at the game. It's not luck, it's skill. It just takes a bit of practice. It's not like the other beat-em-up games. I like it. I like winning too. And let's not forget Fighters Megamix, which I think come out before Virtua Fighter 2, but I can't remember anyway. It's got the characters all from Virtua Fighter 2, but graphically speaking, it's not up there with Virtua Fighter 2. It's a slightly toned down version, possibly because they've added the characters from Fighting Vipers. I did have all the characters unlocked, by the way. I was going to show there's like the Daytona car you can play as, but my Sega Saturn memory died, so you won't be seeing that. Now, the difference between Virtua Fighter characters and Fighting Vipers ones is, if you can see in the top right hand corner, they have body armor. Once you knock it out, they're more susceptible to hits. It's kind of an interesting, you know, thing to add to the game, but that was more Fighting Vipers than Virtua Fighter. But the two mashed together works really nicely. The game moves at an extremely fast rate, and it's really entertaining. I really enjoyed it. If you haven't played it, I could probably recommend picking this one up. Not over Virtua Fighter 2, but if you've got Virtua Fighter 2 and you've got the Sega Saturn, you've got to get this game. Yes, Virtua Fighter Kids on the Sega Saturn. Yes, my mind boggles. It really does. Look at this. Is it really... Eh? No, go back to Jeffrey. What the hell happened to him? I know what happened. Somebody dropped the bar of soap and he had to pick the bar of soap up. Let's just go back. Yes, that explains it. That's odd and weird and gross. I'm not going down it. Let's take a look at this game. This game shouldn't exist. Good God, this is weird. Look. They look like bobbleheads. And his helmet's already fallen off. What a stupid game. The moves are pretty much the same to pull off. You have two different modes of play. Kids play or the Virtua Fighter play. I don't really notice a lot of difference between the two. This game just shouldn't exist. It's weird. These kids have got issues, man. Can you imagine a school full of little toddlers running around kicking the shit out of each other? God damn, this game's weird. It shouldn't be allowed. It's wrong. It's wrong on every level, and I don't like it. Actually, it's quite playable, but you know what? Less said about that, the better. Let's move on. Now onto the Dreamcast version. we've got Virtua Fighter 3 on the Dreamcast. Now, the Dreamcast was a great console for its time. I love the controllers. They're not easily coming to hand, but I love the little memory packs that come in with the little screens and stuff, and you can, you know, transplant your saves and stuff. Nice, really nice touch. I loved it. There's one thing wrong with the Dreamcast. It's the damn console. It doesn't last. There's something wrong with them. This is the third Dreamcast I've had, and this is a combining of 2 Dreamcasts just to get the bloody thing to load the game. It's atrocious, and it still doesn't bloody work! Alright, after much toing and froing, I managed to get the damn thing to actually load it, and this is the best I could do. I tried retuning the telly, I tried redoing the hertz of it from 50 to 60, 60 to 50, backwards and forwards, and it still makes no damn difference. And all I can do is I can show you the game playing, but after a while it starts to blur and to glitch a bit, and then after a while you can't see what's happening, you can just hear it. This is the best I can do to give you, for instance of it. The game is brilliant. I love the Dreamcast variation, purely because of the first-person perspective fighting style of it. You get to change the angles, and I think it's the only one that has that. It's brilliant. I love the game. It flows, it's responsive. It's just the damn Dreamcast can't play it, because the Dreamcast is made out of junk. But if you're lucky enough to get hold of a Dreamcast that works and a copy of this game, you're doing yourself a favour. Highly recommended. Here's a little question I've been pondering to myself before we go on to the next game. Have you ever played somebody who can't drive but they play car games and really good? Or just kids, you know, like 12-year-olds, you know, they're really good at the car games. So naturally you'd think they'd be good at driving, or they think they'd be good at driving. You're playing them, they can't drive a real car, but they said, yeah, but if I drove a real car I'd be that good. So I'm good at Virtua Fighter. I'm not going to be modest now, I am quite good at it. So naturally you would assume that I'd be good at fighting. It says Virtua Fighter, so naturally one would put 2 and 2 together, say I'd be a virtually good fighter, right? Yeah? Right? So if I was to fight in the real world I'd be good, yeah? No, bollocks. This is what happened.
If we could dance, it would be awesome, yeah. Let's take the chance. It would be awesome, yeah. Let's start the show. Because you never know, you never know, you never know until you go. Alright. Alright. Who gives the orders here? Who gives the orders here?
Alright, now we're to the PlayStation 2 with Virtua Fighter 4. Now, can I just get one thing straight before I talk about the controller, which is quite awkward, but I've got a special controller. Virtua Fighter 4 could have been done on the Dreamcast if the Dreamcast actually worked, but the console died, so, you know, bollocks to that. Virtua Fighter 4 is brilliant. I love the game. It's practically faultless. Virtua Fighter 5 really hasn't got that much on it, other than online gameplay. So let's take a little look at this game, shall we? Just quickly. For start off, look how many options you've got. Now, this is more like it. Think about Virtua Fighter 1 for a second. Wow, big options! Now, Sarah is looking kind of more attractive than I remember her. No, get off. You know what? You know, I don't care. I never played as Sarah originally, but considering how much better she looks now, I'm afraid I'm going to have to use her in the game. Sorry! Virtua Fighter 4 is a great game. I mean, messing around with the characters and stuff, it's just for laughs, but to take it seriously, this is a great game. I can't really fault it. It's up there with Virtua Fighter 5 easily. I said the only thing you're lacking is the online play, but graphically, the moves, the way it rolls, the way it responds, I love it. You can't really fault the game unless you're going to be overly critical of certain elements of it. And I'm not going to be, because I'm quite partial to Virtua Fighter and always have been. Cage, as I said, and Pi have always been my favourite, but Sarah's a good fighter too. To be completely and utterly honest, to break it all down for you, Virtua Fighter is a great series of games. But you're probably always sitting there thinking, well, okay, we've got to number 4. Now number 5. Well, I'm sorry guys, I have to let you down. That's going to be a separate review, and if you're really interested, I will do it, but if this falls flat on its face, I probably won't. If you've enjoyed this, or it's been some insight to Virtua Fighter, I've done my job. Look out for these games. If you haven't got any of them, they're definitely worth checking out, and hopefully we'll get into Virtua Fighter 5 sometime soon.
嘘